Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm trying to make this small, but can't do that when there's only one person. All right. So this is it's clobbering time. I guess Marcus isn't coming, or he's late, or he fell asleep. I don't know. But as always, it's an open invite, and I kind of don't like being by myself anymore, looking at my big old stupid face. So if anybody wants to pop in and talk with me, here is the link. Turn on your camera and let's have a conversation. So tonight's topic is who's on your Mount Rushmore of comics. So I got my Captain Kirk shirt on, and we'll filibuster for a little bit. So Heroic Tales 2 is on Fund My Comic, still available at this link. Get while the getting's good. Let me take a sip of coffee. Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. And I might as well show I got this today in the mail. Come on. The Conquered by Mark Miller and Valerio Giangiorgio. This looks pretty good. So we'll check that out. I got this in the mail yesterday. Some crowdfund Star Circuit. And still didn't read right Soul Legion. He was on my channel. But this was like a week for crowdfunded. I got some good crowdfund stuff. I got Screecher number 4. And yeah, other stuff, but it's already buried in the pile of goodies. My teetering pile of to-read comics. So how's everybody doing? I'm in a good mood. This is a Friday before a 3-day weekend. And no overtime. So I got 3 whole days to just relax. So tonight being Friday the 13th, I didn't realize it was Friday the 13th. I didn't realize it was Friday the 13th. But then I knew it was Friday the 13th. I saw Horrible Monsters like that. How's it going?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just figured you were asleep fell asleep or something.
Almost. I almost fell asleep. I don't usually lie down. I try to keep myself busy.
Well,
But
that's what this is
I
for.
had a cold. Yeah, I know, but it didn't matter. I had a big one of these. This is like 20 ounces, and it didn't matter.
Did you say you have a cold?
I was sneezing like crazy earlier. I just started feeling better now. So
Yeah, this is like a weird week because it's too much information here. But when I go to work, if I see the temperature has a 3 in front of it, I put on my thermals. But it's been 39, and then it gets like into the 40s by the time I get to work, and then I'm dying from the heat, and then I take off my jacket and I'm freezing. It's like at that little weird period, and so I think everybody's getting cold. Everybody's getting sick.
Yeah, I believe it.
How you doing, Tony? Gang's all here. I was filibustering.
Hey,
Marcus, did you order this? Conquered?
Mark no.
No. I forgot I did. I crowdfunded so much stuff. Things showed up.
That?
Mark Miller and what's the artist's name?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know which one it is. Yeah.
Valerio Giangiorgio. I know.
No, I didn't. I got the one with Frank, with John.
Psychic Sam.
John Romita. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Psychic Sam was good. It had a good twist at the end.
I like that. Yeah, and it was a good story, but you could still look forward to the next one.
Yeah,
it wrote that. Yeah, I really enjoyed Psychic Sam. I thought that John Romita did a really great. It read so quickly. Not quickly. It wasn't a short comic.
It was a page turner.
No, but the storytelling was so smooth, and he's a cartoonist, and the characters all look different, and they had a lot of he looked really at home with that. People have been criticizing. Well, let me get this right. I'm sorry. His artwork recently.
I don't know. I thought it was some of his best artwork.
I thought so too, but I mean, like on Spider-Man and stuff, they're too skinny. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
I thought this was really good. I agree 100% with you.
I haven't been impressed with JR's work since Daredevil. You know, I
Oh, I
remember
like stuff after Daredevil. I mean,
I remember he did Captain America, and I was just like, this is like, I was like, this is a man who gave up. That's the way I thought. And I got to say, Kick Ass, I wasn't too impressed with it. Like the little girl looked like a monster. You know,
yeah, I didn't get. That I didn't like Kick-Ass that much, but that wasn't all because of him. I liked his Thor. I thought his Thor was really good.
I'm trying to remember his Thor. I don't remember too. But this Psychic Sam, like you
Yeah,
said,
it
this
was really good. Yeah.
I wonder if he just likes like the regular vigilante kind
I
of stuff.
think he could see like he was able. It's not just. I don't think he takes his time like I would take my time. Things come easy that way. He wasn't really doing a corporate comic. He wasn't being told we want Mary Jane to look this way and Spidey's got to be this way because he's some terrific Spider-Man work in the '90s. And then he left and he came back to it and it kind of been get thinner and thinner. And you have to see what are they telling him how to draw. I mean, he'll never say. He's very cheery about that stuff, you know.
And I could also because from talking with Narwhal Per Berg, who did Vatican City, he says Mark sent you the script, and then you know him being new to this big big ocean of Mark Miller and everything like that. So he was just like, all right, what do you want me to do? And Mark Miller was just like, whatever you want. You're the artist.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah,
because I wouldn't have hired you if I didn't trust you. Do whatever you want, you know. And I wonder if John Romita Jr. is like, I'm doing whatever. Plus, I think it was like they're splitting it. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, the better I draw it, the Reds can sell, more money I make. You know, there's a lot to be said for incentivizing your artists. You know, like I have, if I hit $10,000 on a crowd fund, my artist is going to get a bonus. I haven't done it yet.
Well,
it's there.
Well, there's one thing you can't complain about. You're always nice to the artist. You always give us a lot of credit when you post it, and not all writers do that, and not all writers even name their artists. And you give us too much credit. I mean, you're really terrific about that.
Well, thank you. That. But let's be honest. I'm the newest guy, and I'm the weakest link in any.
Well, that's nice to think too. You know, most writers don't think that way. We've had that debate here, and then it comes up, and we were really nice about it, but it's not such a nice debate. But that's one of the problems.
Well, I love the art versus writing debate. Well, you know what?
You're fair about it. You know,
Tony, what is your thoughts on the eternal? What's more important in comic books, art or writing debate?
They're both equally important.
Okay,
take example. Image Comics, beautiful art, beautiful, gorgeous art. What the hell was the story? What was the story in Wildcats? What was the story in Wetwork? What was the story in Spawn? I don't know, but they look pretty. You know,
right? You know, Todd McFarlane's like, I could sell this, and Rob Liefeld's like, I sold millions, and all I got to say is congratulations. You sold bad comics to so many people that so many people left, and now comics have a third of the sales of the 90s. You know, it's like, I got mine. Screw everybody else is what I would tell them. You know, but anyway, my opinion, and I said this a few times, is without good art, you're dead in the water. Your comic is dead in the water. Few exceptions, and I'll even get people mad. I'll say like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The art was muddy, murky, but it was good. That's one of the few exceptions. But for the most part, if you don't have good art, you're dead in the water. But nobody's going to stay around for more than 3 or 4 issues if your story sucks. And I back this up by saying whenever we talk about, Spawn or anything, the guys talk about the story. Nobody's like, and that one page where Spawn was choking that guy, like they talk about the story. And even the artist, even Rob Liefeld, forgets that he just didn't draw randomly, whatever just he felt like drawing. He drew Deadpool standing on a building, leaping over the building, jumping through a window, punching Mysterio in the face or whoever. That's all story. That was all written down.
I don't even remember that.
You know what I mean?
No, you think you're fair. You're really fair about it. A lot of people aren't as fair. I mean, but you read so many comics,
Well, that's why Todd McFarlane had to run and get Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore, and
Dave's son.
Dave Sim
yeah,
to be those stories because he knew that the story wasn't going anywhere. It just stagnated.
Right. Draw and pose superhero poses.
Mm-hmm.
Just make a calendar. But so I firmly agree. Without good art, your comic is dead. With rare exceptions, and good writing will retain the customers. So my eyeball, like the horrible metaphor that I gave was, if you're out looking for a girlfriend, that pretty girl is going to catch your eye. But her personality and demeanor and the way she carries herself is going to keep the, I don't want to, that girl's a maniac. That girl's crazy. Or that girl's perfect for me. You know what I mean? But to be mean, if she's not pleasant to look at, you wouldn't have gone over to in the first place. That's the way I look at it. I will also say that you should have, the art should convey most of the story. And that is writing. Like when Marcus is drawing the public eye jumping out of a building and punching the goons and saving Poinsettia, that's all. I wrote that. You know what I mean? So my ego is satisfied by how cool Renzo or Brian or why Brian Cristal's in the, he's not a, I'm not even working with him, but I just read the name Brian. But all of these people, they're turning my words into beautiful art. So I don't see why the writers get their egos bruised.
I don't understand that either. But I never worked with a writer that got like that. Like my friend is really great, but he's not originally a comics writer. He's a guy who wanted to be like, Harlan Ellison.
Yeah.
He knew of comics, but he didn't study to be a comic writer.
Yeah, he you got to give him credit, or he'll sue you.
Well, no, my friend's not too litigious. You'd get along.
Oh, I thought you said Harlan Ellison.
Yeah, that's his hero, his writing hero, but I don't think it's his personal hero.
I do agree with RRTNC, but this is just a fun topic. And Brian, if you want to come in,
I was thinking about that, but with the three of us, we'll end up by decades or something.
And Brian or anybody, remember this is an open invite show. If anybody wants to come in, you're welcome to come in.
Oh yeah, I want to go back up to that, Brian. I saw that before. Okay, I'm ready. I'll work with Brian Kriskow. That's a good.
Brian's a good writer. Brian,
I know he is. Yeah, he's very good. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Brian has a wonderful comic called Six Gun Gorilla. It's funny because I heard the same story told about me. When I got Six Gun Gorilla, I put it on my pile and I kept skipping it because I'm like, if this is bad, I don't want to say to Brian that this is bad.
Oh yeah, that's always a
we
problem.
met in person and Brian was cool and we had a good talk and everything like that. We had a few beers and I'm like, man, if this is bad, I got to tell Brian because I don't want to lie. Then I said, you know what? I'm just going to read it. It's 6 issues. I'm going to read one, and I sat and read all 6 issues. It was excellent. It was excellent.
Well, if we could segue in, as Tony, you had something to say because I get yelled at on other streams, so I don't want to talk over anybody. I get yelled at other streams.
One last thing about Brian is he's one of the people in my small circle that read my scripts, so he gives me some good advice.
I think we could actually, like, this debate we can help define our Mount Rushmore, right? We'll see who's on it.
And Arkham is one of my artists here. He just sent me a page just minutes before.
I'm working on it. See his real paper, you can hear it.
Shaking the bush. Does anybody get that reference? I say that all the time, and nobody knows what I'm talking about.
See,
Tony, you gotta know.
You don't have to go. I don't want to show real pencils, not like the scratchy ones we were talking about.
Very beautiful.
And then things get cleaned up, and she got prettier on the third panel. We redrawn. It's crazy. It's like panel by panel. It's the craziest thing.
Poinsettia has a cameo in another story. So I'm hoping that you'll see Renzo's rendition of Poinsettia.
When I see Poinsettia, this is what I'll say. He goes, "Oh, their boobs aren't big enough." That's what I'm going to say. I swear to God.
Well, I'm hoping by the time he's drawn it, your story is already published.
That's okay.
I write scripts way in advance. I could stop writing right now, and I probably got 7 years worth of comics.
Right. That reminds me of Chuck. You know, I spent a lot of the time modding that stream he was on with Graham Nolan, and so he always has a billion. He's always way ahead. And they asked him, and you could ask him. I think he's going to be on your show soon, right?
He's going to be on Tuesday at 11.
I hope I can listen. I'm at work. I don't know. Sometimes I really can't. Sometimes I can't listen to the whole thing. And they said, well, what do you do when you have, like, you're stuck? Graham asked him. And he goes, well, I work so far in advance that I never have that stress. So if he's stuck, he can actually sit on that for a little while till he gets unstuck. He can think of something because he's never on that deadline. Like, okay, I got to get this figured out by tomorrow or the next 5 minutes or something. So it was kind of funny.
Let's see. Did I get everybody's quotes? Did I get everybody's? Oh, and I put an homage to Six Gun Gorilla in one of my stories. Blink and you miss it, but because the universes are separate. Oh, I want to show this. Keep talking while I find it.
Okay. So it was a good stream. Graham was launching a Kickstarter of the Canoe 77 at the same time he's promoting Chuck's new book. What was that? 7
Sinners.
Yeah, and with the artist, Bob Harden was on with him. He had some internet problems. And he knew Harden, and you'll end up talking. I don't want to say because it's going to be part of your show that he knew Bob Harden since like years and years. And he was one of the first Kubert students and stuff. And it's pretty interesting. And Billy Tucci joined them, and Aaron Lopresti joined them for a little bit. And, when those old guys all get together, they have really great stories. And I was like, and Graham doesn't have a whole lot of mods, so I really had to really pay attention.
I just wanted to share this for a second. This is.
I saw that.
This is Big Iron, the robot sheriff. He's the sheriff of Signal, Arizona. Signal, Arizona is the location of Science City, and there really was as far as I know, Signal, Arizona is still there, but it was a town founded by gold and silver mines, and that's part of the story and reason why Science City is what it is. And so this is the story of Science City before it was Science City, and one of the reasons why you'll see why Science City is so important and so strange, because it had a robot sheriff. But I love this. So it's like a
great design.
Yeah, well, you got to see the. Well, I'll show it.
You'll show eventually. Yeah.
I'll show the original that I sent.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
Yeah. So this is how I draw. We're just filibuster until we get a good audience, and then we'll talk. This is how I draw. So this is what I sent to the artist.
It's something.
And then the cool. Artist cleaned it up, and then notes and stuff like that. So I get a kick out of seeing what I draw and then watching it. You know what I mean? Seeing everybody. It's just so cool. It's just so cool. This artist, Erica is her name. She did such a good job. And I was just about to spoil the story, but I sometimes I do stop myself, Marcus.
Oh, right. Oh, poinsettia got a poinsettias on her dress at this point, so we know we're on our way.
I can't wait to. Well, I got so many.
You too many stories.
Get the story done, Marcus. I'm
working on it. I'm working. Now we're getting it done. I'm getting it done.
Shaking the bush again. Does anybody get that reference? Shaking the bush, boss.
I get it.
You get it, Marcus? Where is it from?
I don't remember, but I do get. I've heard it before.
Cool Hand Luke.
Oh, that's right.
Paul Newman he was on a chain gang and they were working, and he had to go to the bathroom, and they told him to go out, off the road into the bushes and take care of business. He goes, but keep shaking the bush to show me where you are. That you know what I mean. So Paul Newman goes out and then he sees them looking. He's shaking the bush, boss. I'm shaking the bush. That's so at work. That just means I'm working. So when the foreman comes by and like looks at you, you go, I'm shaking the bush. I'm shaking the bush. You show the wires or whatever in your hand. Mount Rushmore of Marvel. I can't read. Well, Kirby, Lee, Shooter, Goodwin. Of DC, Schwartz, Weisinger, Fox, Johns, but all of them above all. What do you think about that?
Well, I can't put Goodwin in Justin Marvel. He worked equally for DC. To me, in my mind.
That's the owner of Marvel, though.
Goodwin. I think he means Archie Goodwin. Good man, Martin Goodwin.
Oh, Archie Goodwin. I read it as the owner.
No, maybe you're right. You would be. I don't think he would be a part of the.
George Weisinger would be a good choice for that.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Matt Barr, another guy that I'm working with. Can't wait to show him the new story I wrote. George Washington, of course, George Washington's on the Mount Rushmore. George Washington is such a great president, and we still don't give him enough credit that he deserves.
Oh, no, I think I agree with that. Yeah, I really agree with that. So, like, Archie Goodwin worked for both. It was super important for both companies. I think in the 80s, he was epic, and he was like near next to Shooter. But he wrote Manhunter, for DC, and it was an important editor of Batman from, in the 70s,
and also he was the editor and wrote most of the stories in the Warren magazines. Like
that's right. Yeah, Blazing Combat.
All of those great artists, guys. I'm sure Tony knows, but if you want to see some of the best comic book art by far, I mean, as much as I love George Kirby, I can't even talk anymore. As much as I love Jack Kirby, we can all admit his anatomy is wonky. To me, Jack Kirby's his imagination and his action was everything. But like as far as like draftsmanship, these Warren guys they are the best. They are the best. So if you want like draftsmanship, which is like pay attention to detail and technical amazing art, you got to check out those. The War. There was only 4. Blazing Combat only had 4 issues, which was a shame because they were great. But anyway, we got enough people here. We've been filibustering for a while. So tonight's concept is the Mount Rushmore of comics. So we're going to take our 4, whatever you want to say, best, greatest, most influential. That's up to each person to decide, and we're going to put them on. Now, I'm going to give a caveat right out. If let's pretend this was the Mount Rushmore of music. Whether you like the band or not, but could we pick bands and individual? Like, could you say the Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin or the Beatles? I would say yes. So I'm gonna give teams one face on the Mount Rushmore also. So of course, just not to bury the lead, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby is one head on Mount Rushmore. So is that cheating? Maybe, but that's what I'm gonna do. So one of my heads is Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, and if anybody watching this on a Friday night, I think you kind of agree with me. Stan Lee, for so many reasons. One of the reasons we don't give him enough credit is he kept Marvel afloat during really difficult periods of time. He was at one point like a one-man company. Like he had him and a secretary, and then a couple of freelancers making all of these comics. I'm talking a couple. Like there's stories where he fired everybody, but like I think John Buscema was like the only guy.
Right.
Yeah, like he was supposedly crying when he fired Gil Kane, and some real heartbreaking stories. So I think he gets credit just for that. Now, so I'm just going to give my 4, and then you guys can pontificate. I'm already talking, and my mouth isn't working. It's only going to get worse. So I'm going to put Gaines, the father and son team. It was Max Gaines was the father, and Bill Gaines is the son. Why? Because they're kind of credited with creating the comic book, and it's like you got to start at the beginning. Would there have been comic books without them? Maybe, but they did it first. They invented it. And they without them, there maybe there wouldn't be comic books. Who knows? So they have to get credit just because they, just like Orville and Wilbur Wright get credit for the airplane. They did it first. My next would be, in chronological order, would be Will Eisner, or if you wanted to be technically correct, the Will Eisner Studio. Why? Because I think that Will Eisner, to my knowledge, and I'm sure Tony could correct me, was really the first person that took the medium real seriously and wanted to elevate the medium. So he wanted to have the writing just as important as the art. He hired super talented people, and he was a taskmaster, but this quality speaks for itself. He did more in 8 pages than so many other artists and writers did in graphic novels, with characterization and a full story. He did technical manuals for the military. There was he kind of invented the graphic novel with the Life Force, although that's debatable. But I think the guy is amazing. And then he wrote literally the instruction manuals on how to make comics later on. He never stopped. He believed in the medium in a time period where people thought that comic books were garbage. Like, as much as people kind of look down on comics now, back then, like, people changed their names. They wouldn't admit it because of the whole seduction of the innocent. But Will Eisner, he used his real name. He went through his whole life trying to make it a serious art form, which I believe it is. Then chronologically, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. And then the last one, man, I had a tough time. And I was going to say Frank Miller, even up to maybe 6 or 7 hours ago. But then I realized Jim Shooter. And why Jim Shooter? Because he, to me, made the high point of comic books. Like the late 70s, 80s, all of the stuff that even the Marvel movies today, they all have their beginning point in the Jim Shooter years. He took a bunch of slacker hippies, he whipped them into shape, and as much as they hated him, he made the best comics. And I, maybe I'm an old fart, but because I was a teenager when they all came out, so it was like the best time of your life kind of thing. But man, we're still talking about the Death of Phoenix, the Great Darkness Saga, the John Byrne X-Men, Walt Simonson Thors, such good runs. The Frank Miller on Daredevil. There's a reason why all of that good stuff came out. That's because Jim Shooter, he took Marvel, which was really hit or miss, but and made it. So that's my Mount Rushmore. Anybody in the chat agree, disagree, think I'm crazy?
Sounds good. You approach some of my guys.
Okay, definitely an easy pick. Oh, Archie, good. My journeyman teams are Chris Claremont, Byrne, Wolfman, Prez. Yeah, those are good ones. Those are good ones. I'm not going to say no. So, Tony, what do you think? I've been talking enough, and I'm sick of talking.
I'm going to require a mountain range, not just a mountain face. But
okay,
here we go. Max Gaines for what you said, creating the comic book. Major Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson for creating the second comic book and the company that would become known as DC. Harry Donenfeld and Jack Leibovitz, the two crooked mob lawyers that stole the company from him and drove it away from the pulp stuff that the Major was doing into superheroes. They're the ones that, under their umbrella, came out Batman, Superman, the lot of them. They were the ones that did that. Martin Goodman, the creator of former pulp publisher and the creator of Timely Comics, later on Atlas Comics, later on Marvel Comics. Stanley Lieber, who we all know what he did, but I shouldn't have to elaborate. But he's the guy that created the modern day comic book. He's Mr. Marvel. Everyone knows who he is. Mort Weisinger, the early editor and one of the earliest people to work for DC Comics, who created such characters as Aquaman and Green Arrow. William Gaines, the son of Max Gaines, who reinterpreted the comic books in the 50s into horror, and then, well, horror, piracy, war comics, and then later on transitioned it into humor comics with Mad Magazine. And Julius Schwartz, who under him, he stewarded the Silver Age of DC Comics, helped co-creating the Silver Age with Gardner Fox and John Broome and Carmine Infantino. Siegel and Schuster created Superman. Finger, Kane, and Robinson, Batman. Beck and Binder, Captain Marvel. Simon and Kirby, we all know what they did, Captain America. Gardner Fox, Bill Everett, Jerry Iger, and Will Eisner, who created the famed Eisner-Iger studio, which practically created Quality Comics. And finally, John L. Goldwater and Bob Montana, who created Archie Comics.
Okay, I didn't know who they were. That's a good one. That's a good pick.
So that's it. Sorry about that. I told you I was gonna require a big mountain range for mine.
So, well, you can like pick different Mount Rushmores. So my first thought was, and I'll just say what it was: Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Will Eisner, Steve Ditko. That just without thinking about it, that was it.
Yeah, it was tough for me to not put Ditko on there.
And then that was, and then you think about it. Oh, should I put Harvey Kurtzman on there? Like I knew some of these guys. I knew Will Eisner and Harvey Kurtzman a little bit. I mean, he was a teacher, but he was sick, so we didn't get to really know him. And you're right. Like that's what Will Eisner said to us every day. He was in every other week about comics. Like that, he did live his life. You could say, well, he didn't create the graphic novel, but he popularized the graphic novel. People started graphic novels after he published them, and they were intensely personal stories. They weren't just superhero stories. And then there's Jim Shooter, right? But then you have to go back. What's the Mount Rushmore? It's like who George Washington was the first president. Well, then you have Major Nicholson. So like you could have like a business of comics, Mount Rushmore, a bunch of just writers, and you could have just artists. You could have writers and artists. You could have them of the 40s, 50s, the 60s, the 70s of each decade, and it'd all be valid. You could have a list that could have Walt Simonson, Frank Miller, George Perez, John Byrne, and Chris Claremont, and that's your just Mount Rushmore, and that's way later than any of the beginning of it. So it's a complicated question,
Yeah, and that was. I was hoping everybody would like streamline it to 4 slots.
But that was my first 4. That was my first 4 because that's when I thought about it today. That was it. That's what first came to mind. But then why did Steve Ditko? And then you have to have Siegel and Schuster because they created Superman. Like this.
Right, yeah.
So you swap out Stan Lee.
Cut out is tough.
Do you swap out Stan Lee for Bob Kane or Bill Finger because they created Batman? And what did Stan Lee? Did he create Captain America? No. And then Kirby's almost on it twice because he's had 2 different careers where he was a Mount Rushmore in the 40s and then in the 60s. Not that they create Joe Simon. There's a Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, and there's Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. They get like that. That's if you want to do teams. He has 2 teams. He created romance characters. He created kid gangs. People know what he created? Marvel, like the whole Marvel universe, half of the DC universe that's in use. The stuff that wasn't created in the 40s, Kirby created in the 70s. Their biggest villain is Darkseid, right? So like that, he's a Mount Rushmore by himself.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So that was my first 4. So that was, I'll have to.
Yeah, my first 3 were automatic, and the 4th one, I like Ditko, but I I thought Jim Shooter just because of everything. I mean, look at you when people buy T-shirts. It's like pictures of Iron Man that were made during the Shooter years. You know what I mean? Like he has such an influence on comics.
They always say Jim Shooter was all full of all these rules and all these storytellers. In fact, I had a good friend of mine from college would not work for Valiant because he had too many rules, and he did. There's a list of rules. But boy, but once you got going and you proved you could write and draw, he left you alone. He left Leighton and Michelini alone, John Romita Jr. alone. He let Walt Simonson alone. He let Frank Miller alone. He let Claremont Byrne alone, and until the story came by his desk that he had to flag, but he let them all alone.
Yeah, Larry Hama did whatever he wanted.
Once you were proven to do the comics and the storytelling, he trusts you. Marvel was way too big for him to really personally get into everybody, you know.
Yeah, I couldn't even begin to list Japanese. I don't know enough. Two big holes in my comic book knowledge is Japanese and 50s DC. I fully admit.
Well, 50s DC, you can still have Gardner Fox, and you have Dan Barry and Julius Schwartz, Mort Weisinger,
Sheldon Mayer.
Sheldon, that's right. Sheldon Mayer. He's all the All-American guys are forgotten. They just think DC. But DC, as Tony has said before, was two full companies that crossed over, but they were different companies. Green Lantern and Wonder Woman on one side, and Superman and Batman on the other side. That's one of the reasons why Superman and Batman weren't really in the Justice Society. The Justice Society was
where they were like,
right,
yeah,
right, and the Justice Society was really an all-American production, not so much a national production. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. Like
we have been forbidden from discussing this list of Dave Sim, Robert Crumb, Jack Kirby, and Gene Gural. What do you guys think about this?
That's a good list.
Well, especially Jean Girard. Yeah.
And John Girard, for those of you that know, is Mobius. Jack Kirby, everybody. I'm sure everybody watching this knows Jack Kirby. We don't need to explain Kirby. Robert Crumb, he was the underground artist that
Robert Crumb is huge.
I'm trying to think. Does he have any named characters? Because if he does,
Mr. Natural.
Mr. Natural, yes. The Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, right? Is that him?
That's not him, but they was at that same. Spain Rodriguez is at the same time. Kurtzman was really. I mean, Crumb was discovered by Kurtzman.
Yeah, Robert Crumb.
People forget about Harvey.
I like Robert Crumb, and I had a personal victory about Robert Crumb. Is I'm a punk rocker. Grew up liking punk rocker. One of my friends is an awful deadhead. But I respect the talent of the Grateful Dead, but I gotta say, I just was never into the hippie. I'm a punk rocker, so of course I didn't like the hippie stuff. And he was like, "Oh, I love Robert Crumb because he did all of the Janis Joplin and all the art covers." Like that. So I bought a VHS. This is how long ago it was of the Robert Crumb documentary, and I was like, I'm not watching it until I watch it with him. And it took about 8 months before we actually got together and watched it. And all he did, well, not all he did, but he talked about how much he hated that music. It was just a job. They paid him. He did it. He doesn't like the records.
Oh, he's a blues guy, right?
Yeah, he listens to like old blues, like Robert Johnson.
Oh, I love that old blues. Yeah, I think all that stuff.
My buddy never. He just can't look at Robert Crumb again.
Crumb was so influential. We had kids in school who were really influenced by Crumb. I don't think he could do the comics he wanted to do. Most of the underground comics, which would be of the left, in the 60s and 70s, like they would not be published today. Ooh boy, Crumb would be canceled faster than you could say. It was misogynistic. It was like they made fun of everything. It was bad. I love it, but you know what I mean by being bad.
Yeah,
he couldn't do that today. In fact, he's still alive, and the people do still like, oh, he was this, he was that. People are so sensitive for some of that stuff that you couldn't do it. He couldn't do it.
One thing he said in that documentary was he goes, he can't stand seeing people with advertisements on their shirts. He goes, people are walking around advertising corporation stuff. He goes, do they pay you? He goes, you spent money to wear that? And, since then, I'm very careful about what I wear on my body. Like, I don't mind advertising the Starship Enterprise over here or Marvel Comics, but like, Robert Crumb really made me think about that. Like, do I really Adidas? Why do I have to? I'm gonna pay to. Like, I live in New York, and for years, people just walking around, like, they would spend top dollars for a T-shirt that just said DKNY. Like,
I remember that. Yeah.
How much money did you spend just to advertise some guy's shirt? I didn't get this. I really do like Robert Crumb. I wouldn't put him on my list, but that's all Dirty Fatty's list. That's fine. And Dave Sim, I saved him for last. Dave Sim was the writer artist on Cerberus, which is a super influential comic, and I collected it for years, but I didn't read it until I had all 300 issues. And of course, one of the hardest issues to get was issue number 1. So I finally got them all, and man, I was so excited to read it. And I stalled out around issue 59. It just turned into a slog to read. The first 25 were so good, but it was a goof on Conan, and he was running around and killing. But
it's all about the journey, John. It gets. That's one of my favorite runs. I
knew you were gonna say something. But man, the Church and State, it's. I'm not even joking. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it feels like 25 issues of him sitting in a room dictating letters to a Groucho Marx looking guy, and it drives me nuts.
He did. There was some artwork by him. He did a Glamour Puss, the magazine.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah. Phenomenal artist.
One of the best
things it really is
the letter columns. And
yes.
Have you read those?
Yeah.
Oh, he fights with everybody.
He still fights with
everybody.
Yeah, the letter column. I was excited to read the letters column. The letter column in Cerberus is legendary. So, and that's why I wanted the issues, not the omnibuses, because I'm not sure if the omnibuses have the letters.
No.
Yeah, so if you collect Cerberus and you read Cerberus and you do not get the letters page, you are missing half the experience.
And he was also the first one to do big black and white phone books of his comics.
Right.
Like, if you weren't bothered by, not getting the comics, you would get these big phone books like the Japanese put out of his books in black and white.
Right. Yeah.
That like in like the showcases that they have, or the essentials that they don't print anymore, unfortunately.
Well, one of the things that's going to happen is when he passes away, Cerberus is going to go into the public domain.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
Now, the interesting thing about his letter pages is like it's sad because at the very beginning, what's her name? Debbie.
Denny Clobbering.
What's her first name?
Clobbering.
Denny, Deni.
I think Denny. Yeah. Yes, it's Denny.
So Denny is his. I forget if they started out married or if they started out kind of dating, but they were together at the beginning and like almost like puppy dog love. It was really cute, and then you see them grow distant, and then she leaves, and then you just see Dave Sim get bitter and then nasty.
She was the inspiration for Jaka, the character Jaka, which basically gave birth to my favorite part. Was it Church and State? I'm trying to remember the run, but she's the one that named Cerberus. The reason why it's called Cerberus instead of Cerberus is because she misread. She mislabeled it. She, instead of writing Cerberus, she put Cerebus. That's right. Why he told that. Yeah.
Yeah, Jocko was a sweet girl at the beginning, and you see like a love relationship, bitterness, and then like outright schizophrenia is the only way to describe it. It all throughout the letters pages. And it's one of the only comics where I read the letters from the publisher. That's the first page, and it's all of her notes. And it was so cool to read the issue where they talked about them being in my comic book store. I actually took pictures of it.
Wow, that's great.
I put it on Twitter. There's pictures of it in the YouTube channel. On photos. It was really, really cool. And then Dave Sim, I don't know why I had it in my head that he would be like a surly, nasty guy. So if you, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you go on the internet and just Google Dave Sim, you can get his phone number. Now he's not going to pick it up. It goes right to a voicemail. You leave a message, and then hope for the best. So I was just like, I sat on that phone number for like 3 weeks. Do I call? Do I call? Do I call? Try to get him on the channel, and I called. And I was like, there's no way I'm calling again because this guy, I don't know why I had it in my head that he was a curmudgeon. He called me back and he was the nicest guy. We had an hours, like 2 or 3 hours long conversation. And then after a while, I was like, I'm sorry, Dave, but I got to wake up at 4 a.m. I go to work. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was like, no, don't apologize. He goes, I'll call you back. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Thinking he calls me back. And we had another 2 or 3 hour conversation, 3 conversations, but he wouldn't come on the channel.
Well, yeah, I don't think he does internet, right?
No, I think
he got me too.
Yeah.
I
know.
And he does. I don't think he trusts anybody, but I like to think I'm easy to talk to. So maybe he wouldn't have called me back if he didn't, but I think he's been burnt too many times. Yeah.
Someday.
So Dave Sim, yeah, I like Dave Sim. I'm not going to lie. I'm having a tough time getting through Cerebus.
It's worth it, John. Just go through the slog. It's pretty
Does it pick up after? Because,
and it ends the perfect way. The way
right, yeah. Well, I'm on issue 56 out of 300. It better get better, But I forget. What was it first? Church and State, and then what was the follow up?
It is. I don't know. Let me see.
Well, what were the names of the omnibuses? Because the first one was just him as a barbarian drinking and it was like a Conan, and I love that Wolverine. And then the Groucho Marx looking character, okay, that's funny, but every time I see him, it takes me out of it.
Lord Julius.
Yeah, Lord Julius. I can't stand that character. He should not have been a main character because every time I see him, he takes me out of the story.
Okay. Issues 1 and 25 are Cerebus. Issues 26 to 50 are High Society.
High Society.
I remember High Society.
52 through 80 are Church and State 1. Issues 81 through 111 are Church and State 2. Issues 114 to 136 are Jaka's story. That's a good one. Issues 139 through 150 are Melmoth. Issues 151 through 162 are Flight. Issues 163 through 174 are Women. Issues 175 through 186 are Reeds. Issues 187 through 200 are Minds. Issues 201 to 219 are Guys. Issues 220 to 231 are Rick's stories. Issues 232 to 250 are Going Home. Issues 251 to 265 are Form and Void. Issues 266 to 288 are Latter Days, and issues 289 to 300 are Last Day. That's basically the whole thing.
Well, Dave Sim, before he started making Cerebus, he took LSD. And while he was hallucinating, God told him to make a 300 issue series. So you're in for something fun. And so this one, he right now holds the record for the longest continuous run of comic books.
No, that record is challenged by Eric Larson.
No, not yet.
Savage Dragon.
Not yet.
Okay.
Savage Dragon is up to 278. Dave Sim has 300. Now, I was going to say that Eric Larson is a crazy person who threw away a promising career by keeping a comic published that only sells about 2,000 copies a month.
Yeah, how does he make money?
I don't think he does. He makes money because he's the chief financial officer of Image Comics.
He's still that, yeah.
That must pay his bills, and then maybe back issues or trade paperbacks of old Savage Dragon. But new Savage Dragon basically went to hardcore porn for a while.
Oh, and it's still bad.
Course corrected, but
terrible.
He is obsessed with making 301 issues of Savage Dragon, so he holds the record. Now, previously, the record was 102 issues for Fantastic Four by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. And then Dave Sim beat it. Now, other people say, like, oh, this run, that run. Like, a couple of people would say, no, Todd McFarlane's Spawn.
He had a hand in a lot of them.
No, Todd McFarlane's Spawn did not draw every issue. He did not.
I think
Mark Bagley is the same team. The same. So Dave Sim is the same team for 300 issues. Savage Dragon is the same team for 278 issues. Fantastic Four was the same team. So Todd McFarlane, it was the first 10 issues with different teams. But Spawn is the longest creator-owned independent comic of all time because it surpassed 300 issues. But it's not the longest run.
My favorite is when he challenged Gary Groth to a boxing match in the back of his letter columns, and when he also challenged Jeff Smith to fight him. And that's a shame because I love Bone. That's one of my favorite all-time runs.
Bone is so good, and if anybody wants to read Bone and they're put off by the cartooniness, get it like Harry Potter. It starts out childish, and it ends really dark and really grown up. It's really, really good. I wonder how much, like, I think when he started out, he didn't have the whole thing planned, because if you remember at the beginning, they referenced nuclear power plants and cars. They got lost in the woods and ended up the boat, and then it's like a full-on magical world by the end. So I wonder if.
Well, that strip started off as a college strip that he did. And the first volume of that was collected, a collected volume of that is extremely scarce and very, very expensive. I think it's called Tales from the Lantern, Rose, Tales from the Lantern or something. But that was like the prequel series. And then it goes into the Image, the cartoon books, and then the Image stuff. That's what finishes it off.
I like Bone in its first version, Pogo. Yeah, I bought a collection of Pogo. I think it's upstairs. I got to read it. Yeah. These are all good choices, good picks for Mount Rushmore of comics. I can't argue with anybody. My list is personal. I'm sure Marcus, but anybody in the chat, do they have any other? Oh, what does he say? I hung out with Dave Sim for a long weekend. He was a sweetheart. Omnipro wants to know, you got to ask Tony or Marcus. I don't know this. Who's the best 70s Green Lantern artist writer team for DC? And while you guys are answering this, I'm going to go fill up my coffee cup.
O'Neill wrote for O'Neill and Adams that got canceled. And then O'Neill came back with Mike Grell. Of course, they're not all the issues were like the O'Neill and Adams. It has to be O'Neill and Adams whether you like the writing or not, whether you like this agenda or not.
I don't like it. I like it.
No, it has to be. It's too historic. True, it doesn't matter. Just for Adams,
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean that like, oh, you go back and especially those specific issues, but then he did it with Grell. But Grell was good, but he wasn't as strong as he would be. Those are like his earliest issues, and he's a Neil Adams guy. Even to this day, he's a Neil Adams ripoff guy. So. He always was. That's just how it is. So I don't know. I mean, after that, what else is in the 70s? Keith Pollard. I mean, Joe Staten did it. I mean,
Len Wein. Len Wein did a
lot. Len Wein, but it wasn't Len Wein and Dave Gibbons in the 80s.
Yes, it was early 80s, I believe.
Yeah, early 80s. Because by the middle 80s, I was buying Green Lantern.
They did. The thing I remember about early 80s Green Lantern is, and John might remember it, the backups were Tales from the Green Lantern Corps. And I found those so much more interesting than the actual Green Lantern story itself.
A lot of them were early Alan Moore DC stories.
And they were bringing those guys over. Like Gibbons did the comic.
Yeah,
Joe Staten had the comic, and he left. And then when I was a kid, up until like 1977, I got lots of DC comics. And then after that, it's just like all Marvel till about 1985 or 1986. So like I didn't read. I know they were there, but I didn't read. And now I know more about them, but for a long time. And DC's weird to me. DC's big characters, and only Batman and Superman are big characters. The rest of them, and I guess Wonder Woman, the rest of them like can't carry a series. Green Lantern barely carries a series.
Yeah, Hal Jordan was very. No one knew how to write him worth a damn. Nobody did. Like
It reminds me of Captain America.
But they didn't. Yeah, they just pissed it away until Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns was the only one, I have to say, that actually wrote the hell out of that character. Though it does bother me that, instead of doing a complete retcon and erasing Parallax, erasing the time that character became the Spectre, he like incorporated it into the mythos, and that is so clunky because those stories suck.
The creators have a really hard time writing what is perceived to be conservative comic characters. That would be Hal Jordan, Steve Rogers, Captain America, Barry Allen. And so they have a lot of tough time with those guys. Nobody else really has every other
Superman is a conservative character. Superman grew up on a farm in Kansas. He's about as conservative as.
Well, they have trouble with Superman too, but Superman is Superman. It kind of powers through that, They have a lot of trouble with Superman now, and they did have the same trouble with Superman after Mort Weisenberg left. They didn't. Julius Schwartz really didn't know what to do with. Well, let's depower him, and those were good comics. So there's nothing like Denny O'Neil, Murphy, and Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson. But then after that was done, like what did they do with them?
Oddly enough, for Silver Age Superman, I find Superboy is much better because you actually had adventures there. He got to fight the Legion of Superheroes, the villains. In the main Superman run, it's just like I said last week, love triangle and
especially in the 60s. I mean, the best ones were the ones where they broke out the composite Superman, red Superman, and blue Superman, and those were like imaginary stories. Whenever they did imaginary stories, it was great.
Yeah.
I want to address this. Arkham says, "Do you agree? Starling, he meant Starling. He spelled it wrong. Doesn't get enough credit for creating the comic." Absolutely.
Oh yeah. I think that's true.
With that, Jim Starlin is the foundation for the whole Marvel universe.
Okay, guys. One.
And what did he get? A movie ticket and a pat on the back?
They got him. He got some money from it.
Who is on the Mount Rushmore of 70s comics? How about that? Break it down like that, because I'm on my list. Let's you guys go first. 70s comics, Mount Rushmore.
I immediately Jim Starlin. To me, Jim Starlin was like the encapsulation of 70s comics. Like he walked the line of that Star Wars science fiction and then superheroes. You gotta. I did that series with Kelsey Shannon where we read the Warlock. It's so good. And of course 70s. I didn't know Marvel. I didn't know DC at the time, so I'm gonna be Marvel biased. But Jim Starlin, 70s, John Buscema. John Buscema in Marvel. I want to say, see, I'm not doing any research right now. I'm just from the top of my head. Mike Golden, and I don't know what writers that I would put in the 70s. I think I paid more attention to the artists as a kid than I did the writers. But Len Wein. Now that I look back at some of the great stories from the 70s, Len Wein, like Chris Claremont, to me was like late 70s, 80s. So that's it. All I could think of. Like Stan Lee was already gone. So Roy Thomas. Yeah, Roy Thomas definitely. Okay, Roy Thomas. Yeah. And I didn't know Jack Kirby in the 70s.
That's when we discovered him through his New Gods.
Yeah.
And I worked my way back. But for me, it would be Jack Kirby, Roy Thomas, Barry Windsor Smith, Bernie Wrightson, Mike Kaluta, Gene Colan.
Those are good ones.
Neil, despite the fact I dislike his writing, he was important. Neil Adams. Off the top of my head, that would be it. How about you, Marcus?
Oh, well, Starlin, Englehart,
Oh yeah,
all that. He carried Avengers. When we talk about writers and artists, he carried Avengers without a great artist. He could
You're
not,
right.
unless Cockrum did a couple issues, or
Dave Cockrum.
Buscema came back. One of the Buscemas came back and did a competent issues with him. Most of the time, he had Bob Brown. Bob Brown's a fine artist, but he wasn't great for the Avengers. And then Giant Size Avengers 4, which is the marriage of Vision and Scarlet Witch and Mantis and Swordsman, was a rush job by Don Heck, one of Don Heck's worst efforts. It's not really Don Heck's fault, and it was supposed to be done by other artists. So you have to, and they carried that. He carried Avengers. I mean, he kind of solidified it and handed it off to other people like Jim Shooter later. Like we think we merged the 80s and 70s together. I mean, Shooter he took over a Marvel Editor-in-Chief in 78, and Byrne's first comic is 74, 75. So you can put Byrne in there. And Neil Adams he was really 60s too, but that's like you could almost split or 70 to 75 and 75 to 80. The comics are almost completely different. Roy Thomas, not just for that, for bringing Conan and Star Wars to Marvel Comics, saving Marvel Comics twice.
I would also put. I forgot how George Perez was doing Avengers and Fantastic Four at this point. It wasn't until Omnipro made me think about who was the writer-artist team of the 70s Fantastic Four. A lot of Roy Thomas, Marv Wolfman.
Roy Thomas, John Buscema, Roy Thomas, Rich Buckler, Roy Thomas, George Perez, Keith Pollard. I mean, those were right up to 200, right?
Keith Pollard was so good. He's another artist that doesn't get enough respect. Man, his Thor is some of the best. Keith Pollard.
Walter Simonson. Well, Simonson Thor was mainly in the 80s, but he did Manhunter, the Alien graphic novel, in the 70s. The 70s was like, when you say 70 comics were bad, well, you were reading a lot of Doug Mensch, Don McGregor, who I met, and they were super wordy. Like somebody's posting up Don McGregor and Paul Galassi, Saber, which is one of the first graphic novels too, and it's just all words. It's words and faces because maybe Galassi could fit the drawing next to all the words, and I know that's what he's referring to when he says that. He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
You just said his name, and now his name went right out of my head.
Paul Galassi, Don McGregor.
Don McGregor. He was the writer on a Jungle Action, the 12 issues of Black Panther.
That's right.
Oh my God! You need a magnifying glass to read those.
Oh, I know.
So many words. It's so many words. And I'm a writer. Like I laugh at myself every time I say that. But oh my God, geez, what did you get paid by the word, Don? Knock it off.
Oh, he did Kill Raven. You ever see those Kill Ravens? I mean, there's books. Steve Gerber. They would be pages. People love Gerber. In the Defenders superhero comic, like straight superheroes, Defenders, there'd just be pages of text and with pictures around him. He wrote so much, and he was always late. Him and Englehart, those guys were later than the artists.
Yeah,
they were always late in the 70s because they would do too much weed.
Yeah,
I forgot to include Howard Chaykin. I completely forgot to include Howard Chaykin.
Yeah,
for Star Wars alone.
He hates Star Wars, but he knows the importance of it.
Yeah, I forget. It's funny because in my memory, Walt Simonson did Star Wars, but he didn't. It was Howard Chaykin.
Well, he did do Star Wars way later, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking like the first 6-7 issues.
Oh, it was Chaykin. Chaykin did it. Chaykin was again.
But Walt Simonson did Battlestar Galactica, which was a better comic than you'd think.
The most important comic of Marvel's in the 70s. And it was the first issue was a complete rush job, like Star Wars,
Yeah, I stopped collecting Star Wars because it was just like the coloring was wrong.
They got away from all
wrong. I was like, I can't collect this comic, and I since bought. I'm up to issue 10 of Star Wars, and I'm enjoying it now that I can get past my childish. I had a lot of irrational problems with comics. I was a pain in the ass. Like I told you, when I had my Star Wars toys, I sent away for a stand. The original 12, they had spaces on the stand. I got them all, and I never played with Obi-Wan Kenobi because he died in the movie, so I couldn't play with him.
Well,
you know what I mean? And then when my friends came over, they were like, I'm like, what are you taking Ben Kenobi for? He's dead.
You're pretty consistent. So.
Yeah, I'm out of my mind. So it shows you what a continuity freak I am.
Like what's important, like Spider-Man had important stuff in the 70s. I know that in the 80s when Stern took him, always said, what's he doing? I mean, he had so much trouble with his wimpy things, but Gwen Stacy died in the 70s, the end of the Silver Age, Ross Andrew. I mean, important things happened. There was an interesting time. They were never on time. I mean, making comics was really chaotic, but
Hey, Dave Brink, the man behind Genuine Comics, which is a wonderful comic book company, makes great comics. Do you want to come in and tell us what your Mount Rushmore is?
He posted one. It was good.
Yeah, he posted one earlier. You want to come in and tell us what your Mount Rushmore of comics and why? I would love to hear it, because this is a guy who not only does he live in a country where all the girls are like that Olympic skater, Jutta or something. Oh my God. But he also makes good comics. So I'll give Dave a couple of minutes to respond. Otherwise, guys, I can't stay awake any longer. I don't know what's going on.
You should be used to these hours. You're streaming at midnight all the time.
Yeah, but it's
I can't do it. I'm like, oh, he's streaming. I'm
falling. I know you gotta wake up at normal time. So thank you.
Well, I can't. My issue is I can't sleep late. I don't sleep late. I get up anyway.
Oh man, when my wife wakes up for work, and she, 3 days a week she goes to the office, 2 days a week she works from home. As soon as the door shuts, my male cat decides it's opera time and just at the top of his lungs.
Oh,
so,
I know.
Yeah. She tells him, "Be good. Don't wake up, Daddy. He's got to sleep. Don't wake up." And he nods his head, acts like all nice, and then she shuts the door, and he's like, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey." But I don't. We've been looking it up. Apparently, it's something older cats do. They just start howling.
What kind of cat is he?
He's Maine Coon.
Yeah.
He just meow, like at the top. It sounds like bloody murder.
We have one cat here, the Butterscotch. You've seen him. He doesn't meow. We've seen him. We've had him we're in a third year. I think he's meowed twice.
It's funny because
He's like a mute.
Lucy made no noise for years, and then she started to meep really quietly. Now she sings at the middle of the night too sometimes. Meow, and I blame Thor because
Right. Yeah. No, they do what the other cat does. They definitely do that.
But so I got nothing else to say. Dave just gave us a drive-by. Anything you want to say in closing? I'm sorry that this is only an hour, but I can't keep my eyes open any longer. Tony?
By Heroic Tales, please watch Marcus Drosta.
Well, we're actually getting a fight.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah, always. Yeah, I enjoy this. This is fun. I like to. Oh, we can't go. What are we gonna do next week?
Well, this was a big idea. So, do we do a big idea? We go back to a couple of characters.
If we could come up with characters.
How about the best archers in comics out of multiple companies?
All right, why don't we do that? We can pick one. They can fight. We can pick
Archers?
a couple out of a bunch of them.
Okay, who's the best comic book archer?
Yeah.
Out of all of them. So you pick whatever company, whatever.
The old Arrow from the Golden Age or the
Golden
Artemis
Age.
or
Okay.
So we can even put Rob Liefeld's Archer, the one without he had no string because he didn't want to draw the string,
Okay, so next week we'll do the greatest archer in comics. All right. So thanks a lot. Oh, Marcus, anything you want to say before we go?
Well, I'm on the studio tomorrow, I think, unless they kick me off.
Why would they kick you off?
I don't know. Keep getting cranky on it. But we're having the Mary Boys on Prospect Comics. They're making a comeback with the third issue. I know that's a well-loved older time comic.
I don't know that
comic, the Mary Boys. I don't know that much about it because before my time in indie in this sphere of indie comics. So they're going to be on tomorrow, and that'll be at 7:00. It should be a lot of fun.
Okay. So
And
check
then-
that out. That's on Don Draw stuff. That's
Don draws stuff at 7 p.m.
All right, and Heroic Tales 2 is still available on my where is it? Right here. You can still click here and get a copy of Heroic Tales 2.
Get a copy of Heroic Tales 2. You won't. You got to get it to go read Heroic Tales 3. Let's go.
My next comic is going to be Patriarch #1. It's being colored now.
Excellent.
I'm actually going to wait until it's done before launching the campaign because that'll give me more options, and I'll leave it at that. And then right on the tails of that, I'm gonna do the campaign for as soon as Renzo has like 5 or 6 pages of King Fu Blue Christmas, I'm gonna launch the campaign, and we're gonna do that because it's an experiment to see how fast we're gonna make like a half-size comic, and my goal is to have it in everybody's hands by Christmas. So it's a King Fu Christmas story. It's not a typical Christmas story because it takes place in Vietnam. King Fu, in his prior to his existence as a superhero, he was a Marine. And that's one of the reasons why he got selected for this process for enhancement. And once a Marine, always a Marine. And they get word that he's going to go rescue a Marine that's MIA. And hijinks. So there we go.
I got a question about that character. Did he study at the hands of Count Dante?
It's funny because I wanted to do. I had in my role-playing game, there was a super team of all the comic book, Charles Atlas, Count Dante, and I didn't know anything about their history, so I just made it up because I didn't really know that. I didn't think I thought Count Dante was just a character. I didn't know he was a real person when I made up. Yeah. So when I found out about the real Count Dante, it couldn't fit into the story that I made up. So, but I would like to do something with Count Dante, but he was let's just say that the real Count Dante was a lot less good than the character that I made up on the story.
Isn't that always the way?
Yeah, but Charles Atlas, Count Dante, and a couple of characters that I made up that I already put in other stories. They formed a super team to do a secret mission, and Count Dante would have been like 7 years old in the 50s. I didn't realize he was much younger.
Oh, John, did you hear it? Somebody was interviewing Grant Morrison. They asked him what he thought about the Jor-El Lara thing from the movies. I didn't like it. No. He sort of spoke out of both sides of his mouth, praising the movie, but also like not saying like I didn't like it. It was fascistic. It wasn't good. It was like tearing down so I thought that was neat that he had criticized that part.
Well, yeah, there's things I like about the Superman movie, and there's things I really don't like about the Superman movie. But overall, I think it was just like if you picked up any issue of like Justice League International, that was it, But
I enjoyed the Superman movie.
I liked it better than the Fantastic Four movie.
I didn't see Fantastic Four.
But I'm not. As far as I'm concerned, the Donner movie is great, even though I have problems with that. But almost, I'm trying to think. Almost the first Captain America movie I like a lot. The first Iron Man movie I like a lot. I like the first Doctor Strange. I like the first Spider-Man. So I was about to say no superhero movie is met by expectations, but I take it back. But it's very rare. I feel like a battered wife. I accept the Superman movie because it's better than. I didn't like that. I thought this Zack Snyder films just were dark, murky, and Superman shouldn't be an object of fear. So I didn't like them. I thought Man of Steel fundamentally misunderstood Superman. So I was just kind of happy that at least Superman was kind of happy and people liked him. But whatever. The second Spider-Man movie, yeah, I was really surprised that the sequel was as good, if not better, than the original. And then the third movie, it all fell apart.
It fell apart, yeah.
Yeah, the third one just was not good. And then I liked Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but I didn't like the movies. But now I could go down a whole rabbit hole talking about the movies. But
I don't know, the guys that they choose to play Spider-Man aren't bad, but no, the movies aren't always good.
I don't like Tom Holland. He has an ugly face.
Oh well, that I wasn't really. Yeah,
He looks like somebody sculpted a human being out of mashed potatoes.
funny.
That could be a good clobbering time. Best comic book movies.
There you
5
go.
comic book movies.
There you go. That's a good one. We'll do the Archers next week, and then maybe the week after that, unless somebody comes. But we'll put that one on hold if we can't find. But that's a good one. Best comic book movie adaptation. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So thanks a lot, everybody. Good night. I got nothing else to say
Good night, everybody.
except goodbye, kids.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, kids.